Hey everyone, today we have Germaine Tan with us. She may sound very familiar to you as she's a producer and DJ on 987 FM. She hosts the Knockout Show on 987 every night and the Harsh Podcast on YouTube, where she brings up sensitive topics that ladies generally do not talk about. This is a light-hearted podcast where we find out more about Germaine, how she got started, her darkest moments, and her thoughts on mental health. If you enjoy the show, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more of such content. Enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, can I agree.
Wow, you have a podcast
I know, right?
setting, come on!
No, because it's linear, I cannot shoot wide. If not, all our faces look damn fat, right?
Understand.
So I gotta put all the chairs back.
Appreciate that.
No cut, no editing. I got no time for that shit.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, can. So let's go 3, 2, 1, let's cap it in.
Oh.
Okay, hi Germaine, thank you for coming in. You're a producer, DJ, and also you're hosting It's Clarity.
That's right. A little podcast, and now I'm on a podcast.
I know, right? Maybe one day you can have me on your show. I have no idea what to talk about, but okay, I'll try. Yeah. So anyway, just like maybe a brief introduction. Like, how did you get started? Who are you? What do you like to do?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me in your swanky Model 3. Oh my goodness! I mean, look at this place. He has a game controller in here. That's insane.
Entertain people, right?
Whoa,
got no choice.
Later we'll play games. But yes, my name's Germaine, and I'm a producer, presenter at 987. I've been in the radio industry about 6 years. Next year will be my 7th year. 6 years, yes. I also have a podcast called Hush Podcast. It really touches on like taboo topics that people find it hard to communicate about in Asian communities. Yeah. So stuff relating to female health and all that as well.
How taboo?
Yeah, how taboo? Like sex education, like, embarrassing health problems, like really basically everything that, it's hard to talk about. Like, for example, as a woman, if you earn more than your partner, that's like something that traditionally people don't really like to talk about or like to acknowledge. But it's a fact of the matter that a lot of people, go through.
That's fine. I'm so okay with it. But anyway,
yeah. No, because you're young, you're part of the new generation.
Yes, go ahead. I'm going to pay for my dinner. Yes, thank you.
How old are you this year?
I'm 32.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I'm 32. I've lost count. After 20, you lose count.
Oh no! Okay, I'm getting there soon, but okay, hopefully not.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy my time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that basically sums up, what I do.
So how is it like usually as a DJ, like you say 6-7 years, right? How do you think you've grown over the 6-7 years? How's your role changed?
Oh my gosh. When I first started, right, basically quick summary, I joined a competition. It was a 987 competition.
Yeah, I do remember this. Is it the ones where they host it? Like
it was ugly last time, I don't go and see. Okay, anyway.
Now you clickbait already. Now we have to go and see, right? Okay, anyway.
So back in 2015, I joined it, but I didn't win. And I was crushed, obviously. I got 3rd place, and I thought, okay, that's the end of my radio career. Maybe I should find something else to do. But I don't know why I thought that way. I should have, been a bit more positive. But I think at that time, I was not mature enough yet. And then I was sort of like asked to join another station as a producer. So I produced for Muttons in the morning, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the role like for a producer? Like when you say we had to produce for the Muttons, like what did you do for them?
Well, honestly, I didn't expect like how complex that job would be, because you think like, oh, producing for a radio show, okay, be a producer, but basically you have to take care of everything on the show. You got to line up content for them because they start at 6 in the morning. So before I go to sleep, I already do research for them.
Okay.
And then send them, okay, this is what you can talk about tomorrow. These are the people we're interviewing, let's arrange that for them to come in. Like if they see a news article and they're like, oh, this person is interesting, can you track them down so that we can interview them? I have to like go on the internet, deep dive, who is this person, try to call them and get them on the show. So it's really very, very fast paced. And at the time, it was like biggest show ever in radio. So there was a lot of pressure, but I wouldn't give it up for anything else. Like I learned so much from them because they're veterans, right? In the radio industry, and without that experience with them, I don't think, I would have been so not hard-headed, but like strong, sort of like making my own way now. Okay,
so what is it from them that you thought it made a difference for you? Like how long were you
Yeah.
producing for the Muttons?
I was producing for them for about 4 years. Yeah, because I was in uni at the same time, right? So I thought, okay, while I'm in uni, let me do something on the side as well. Yeah,
Okay.
because my uni was 4 years, which, oh my god, kill me.
4 years is quite
4 years.
some time.
4 years is
quite
very
some time.
long. Like by year 2, I was like, what am I doing here? Yeah, and
Yeah.
every day I would go into work, rush to school,
Right.
and just fall asleep everywhere. And at this point of time, the Muttons would constantly telling me, just quit school lah, just quit school. Like,
I know, right? The best education is already on the job, but anyway.
no, but I stuck it through, got my goddamn degree. Yeah, but I think a lot of things I learned from them. You know, I learned that you really have to persevere if you want to make it in this industry. I think a lot of people come in and they're very impatient, you know, they want to get to a point of success, and I can understand that. Like, young people were really driven, but they kind of get tired of it after 2 years, thinking, why have I not gotten to the point that I want to? And then they kind of back out. And for me, like, you know, I had those thoughts as well on my own, but I was still in uni, so that gave me sort of the privilege to wait a little bit longer and see where things took me. I think another thing that I learned from them is, you know, there are a lot of naysayers, and when you are a radio presenter, you talk about social issues, you talk about local issues. Sometimes people don't agree with you, and sometimes they take it very personally. So, you know, they have their fair share of haters, lovers as well, people that support them, fans and all that. But one thing that I've learned from them over the 4 years is that they truly don't give a shit. Like, if you leave a bad comment or, you know, criticize them, they really don't care. And it's not like, oh, it fuels them to continue or something like that. They don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't affect them, and that's something that I thought was really, really special.
Yeah.
And I learned that from them as well. Yeah.
Okay. So what is producing like? So you say, so they have shows from Monday to Fridays, right?
Yeah.
So how is it like? How is your production schedule like for them? Like, how do you prepare the content for them?
So the show starts at 6, right? So on a Sunday night before I go to sleep, I would, you know, troll the internet for all the latest like news, you know, what's interesting. And when I first got in, I didn't really understand, okay, when you say look for news, it's not just any piece of news that comes out. It's got to be something that people resonate with, their audience in particular. How old are they? What do they do? What are they likely to respond to? What gives them social value that they can take it to their lives and then sort of like tell their friends about it? Like, you know, water cooler talk. They take it, go to work. Hey, you know, I heard this on the Muttons this morning. Yeah. So there are only like a few stories that really do that in a day. So on a slow news day, it's like extremely tough lah. I'm just there trying to find from the deepest depths of the internet.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's before I go in. Then in the morning when you go in, I have some on-air segments as well. You know, I support them throughout the show, whatever that they need. And basically, yeah, after the show ends, around 10 a.m, we have a lot of production to do.
Right.
So thankfully, like, I learned production back in school, right? So I'm able to assist them with that. You know, trailers, like cutting content for the show and all that. Yeah. And I'm really glad and grateful as well that they put that faith in me, because I know that they don't easily trust anyone with the content and all that, but they completely put full faith in me to carry all these out for them for like 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So what input comes in from them and what input comes in from you?
In terms of like
let's say when you're producing the show, right? So
Yeah.
what aspects of the content is yours? What aspects of the content is theirs? Like, is there a generic direction that you guys try to achieve for the week or for the month, or how does it work?
I understand. Yeah.
Like something in more detail. Like, yes, I get it short term.
Correct.
You do let's say you're looking for the news, right? Like what you need to talk about. But let's say in the longer term, like, okay, do you plan things for the longer term?
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
For sure.
Is
Like,
there a topic?
yeah, if there is a segment, like an ongoing segment where we have interviewees every week, right? So I'll line them up like months in advance. And I think that there are different kind of producers. So I've heard of producers, you know, at other places where they literally have to script out stuff for the DJs. But for the Muttons, they are very self-sustaining. Honestly, I think they are...
How do you... shit, right?
I didn't say that.
Like their show because they're full of shit.
I love them though, yeah. But for them, like, they really treat the producer as someone that is an equal. Yeah, which I really respect. So they bring me into the whole planning process. You know, they contribute themselves as well. Yeah, and you don't have to spoon feed them as a producer. Yeah, so they have their own ideas. It's just that they need support to carry those ideas out. Because on the morning show, it's really jam-packed. Like, you don't even have a minute to breathe. Like, I can barely find time to go to the toilet kind of thing.
How is it like? Like, what is it like? Like, when you say jam-packed,
Yeah.
you probably can understand what it is like for someone like me. So
Right.
I have no idea, right?
So behind the scenes, right? I think we're talking constantly, like non-stop all the time. There's traffic, there's weather, there's news, you know, there's like topics, call-ins, games and all that. So there's a lot of things going on, and your mind has to be sort of like focused for the whole 4 hours. Like, you can't even zone out on anything like that, because then you would lose track of where the show is going, right? Yeah, so you have to be completely focused, give your best those 4 hours, and yeah, just listen to people, what they have to say. I really think it's something, it's an experience that I'm very, very thankful to have, because right now on my current show, it's not as jam-packed. I do the nights, it's very chill, it's very casual. For them, the mornings is just absolutely insane. Yeah.
Okay. So, what exactly are you doing behind the scenes?
Yeah.
So when they're talking, when they're on the air, what are you doing behind the scenes at that time? Actually, point to note anyway, it's quite nice of them to actually give you the whole leeway to explore and do the work for them, even though you were so new to the industry. But anyway, back to that. So what are you doing while they are on air?
Yeah, I was like 20 years old. Can you imagine? Like, still in school.
Yeah.
Had no idea like what it was like to be a producer, but they taught me and all that. They coached me. So for example, I think, you know, off air, let's say if they're doing a story right now and something simple, like I feel like as a producer, you have to be very in tune with what they're saying. So for example, right, they say something like, just an example, the Singapore Flyer, like, when was that built? You know, I can't remember. I'm Googling it on the spot, sending it to them through Messenger so that they can see it on air, live during the talk set. So these bits of information, like, which technically as a producer you don't have to do, but I like to do it because I like to give them the information so that they have the best thing to go out on air. While they're talking, you know, I'm searching what's coming up next. I'm preparing for the segments coming up next, like entertainment news, like weird news around the world. I'm preparing for interviews coming up next week and all that. Yeah, so it's very fast paced, and yeah, I'm thinking about what's coming up tomorrow. What do we have to do after the show today? Where are we going for lunch?
Are you prompting them along the way? Like, do you like have to say, hey guys, you know, there's only 1 minute left for this segment. Like, do you have to do that? Or?
I think a lot of producers have to, but for them, they're really very self-sustaining. So I was lucky in a sense that they know how to govern themselves, and they have a different dynamic with the producer. The producer is more like an equal that helps them with the content and, you know, comes on air and all that. Yeah, not really like spoon feed them and time them. Yeah, but I know of producers that have to do that.
So it's a very supportive role. It's like because like, hey Google or hey Germaine.
essentially, anything that they need, like, I'm there for them.
And then how do you move from after 4 years, right? You were first helping them with it. How do you transition to start producing your own show and becoming a DJ on your own show on 97?
Actually, there was a lot of uncertainty in the last year that I was a producer, because I felt I was going to graduate uni, right? And I was thinking about my future, like, where am I going to go?
Wait, you just graduated?
3 years ago?
Okay,
3 years ago.
So I lost me for a while. You went quite into it.
Yeah, so 6 years, then I was there for about 4 years. The fourth year was an overlap, right? So basically, there was a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know where I was going to end up after uni. Yeah, I would have loved to stay on as a producer, and I talked to the boys a lot, like, over that year. You know, what should I do? Should I try another station? But I was very scared to go out on my own, because they had built sort of a comfort zone for me. Like, I fully 100% trusted them, and I really loved them, you know, from the bottom of my heart. And it was very scary to think like, oh, I have to be out on my own. Like, there's no one to protect me anymore. But that's what life is, right?
Correct.
And I felt like that was the push that I needed. So I talked to them and I said, what should I do? Okay, I have you know, an offer coming in to cover for another DJ on another station. It was our sister station, right? It's 987. Still all under the same company. And they actually egged me on to do it. They said, you know what, go and do it. Like, as much as we would love to have you here, but they thought that, you know, I deserved that opportunity to take it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was very scary. It was very emotional, very sad, lots of tears and crying and all
Right.
that. But yeah, I made the decision to go over to 987. I was actually just covering for a DJ. So
Okay.
even my future there was uncertain. I didn't
Right.
know, what was going to happen.
Okay.
Would I have a full-time job?
Right.
No idea. But I
Okay.
just dived into the deep end, yeah.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Before we continue, do you want me to diagonally shift the car because we're in the sun?
Oh, sure. No, I'm okay.
You sure?
I'm alright.
You sure?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. Your
100%.
aircon is very strong.
You sure? You hot? Tell me, okay?
Yeah, no, don't worry.
Okay. So anyway, right. So on the first day
Yeah.
that you went in to produce your own show, like was there like an official start day? And then how was it like?
So it felt like it was like a pseudo thing because I was covering for a full-time DJ, right? So
Right.
I didn't feel like it was my show.
Okay.
And I feel like it would not have been respectful for me to think that it's my show as well. Because this DJ was going to come back, right?
Right.
She had gone overseas for a few months. She was going to come back and I didn't want to disrespect her by making it into my show. Yeah. So when I went in, I just I was very excited, obviously. Like this was something that I had been waiting for years, right? I came up with my own content. I tried to make the show different as much as possible. Yeah, because I didn't want to sort of take things from the previous show and all that. I feel like it's just not respectful to take other people's creative ideas, right? But I had so much fun. It was the night show as well at the time. It was called something else, but it was the night show, and I really understood like how warm the audience was, because I would be on the phone with them every night and they would tell me about their day. And these are like you've got different ages, kids all the way to young adults and all that. So I'd be on the phone with them, talking to them, WhatsApping them.
Right.
Yeah, and I really had the time of my life, but it was very short-lived. It was like maybe 2-3 months.
Right.
Yeah, 2-3 months, and then after that, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just enjoyed my time those 2-3 months, not knowing if I would have a full-time gig.
Right.
Thankfully, they got me on to host with a partner then.
Right.
Yeah, for the afternoon slot.
Okay.
Yeah, so I moved to the afternoon slot, which is sort of like a training ground. Yeah, I think they see it as training ground before they move you to, other spots. Yeah, so I was very thankful, and especially that time was like COVID, when I had moved and maybe like 6 months down the line, COVID began.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I couldn't imagine if I didn't secure something by then, what would I have been doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been two years already.
Yeah.
Like,
No, and the crazy thing is that I hear from a lot of people looking for jobs these days, right? That it's crazy competitive.
It is.
I think I had a friend who had to go through 8 rounds of interview to secure a job, which is, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Correct.
I had to go through barely an interview. It was like half an interview. It was just a chat with my boss, right? And that was it.
To be fair, you were working all 4 years.
Correct.
That has to be counted.
That's true. That's true. Given that, but 8 rounds of interview.
Yeah.
I just imagine myself being in the wild like that.
Correct.
I don't know if I would be able to do that. Yeah.
True.
That's
True.
crazy.
It's not easy. So right, so I'm curious, the very first time
Yes.
you had to host a show solo,
Uh,
how was that like?
I had hosted solo before,
Sure.
part-time on the weekends,
Okay.
right? But even though you have
Yeah.
a weekday spot feels different. It feels more nerve-wracking. Wow, I think I was shaking that night. I was probably shaking, honestly.
Okay.
I tried to calm my nerves.
Right.
I tried to tell myself what, but you have done this for 4 years. You should be fine, right?
Right.
But I was still nervous because it was a different station. The demographics were totally different. So I had to think, who do I want to be to these people, right? Because last time when I was at the previous station, it was more of an older crowd. So I had a different voice, I had to talk about different things, like the whole vibe was different. So coming into a younger station, it was more like upbeat, like fun, more of my actual age right? Which suited me really well. But it took me a while to switch over as well. But yeah, I was so nervous when I went on air for the first time. I think I probably had sort of pointers or talking points, which generally I didn't need, but I was just so nervous that night that I needed it.
You needed the points, okay.
Correct, yeah. But my friends were very supportive, they tune in and all that, and my mom as well.
Okay, so what happens when, let's say, you're on air, right? Like, you put on a song.
Yeah.
What happens behind the scenes while the song is playing? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
I think one biggest misconception is that people think that DJs pick the songs.
Right.
We actually don't, because music is the business.
Correct.
There's a whole music director that's, being paid a lot of money. I hope.
Okay.
We hope to come up with the music and all that, because music is the business. But then occasionally we'll put songs in if there's a request or something like that. But off air, what we usually do is prepare for what's coming up next, right? So let's say if I have a story coming up next, I'm thinking, how do I want to present this to the audience? What is my in point? What is my punchline? How do I get out of the story, go into the next song and all that, and make it smooth? Or if I have a game coming up, I'll be preparing, what's coming up for my game. And outside of the show as well, we do a lot of show prep. And I think the job itself comes with a lot of different jobs. And what I mean by that is that people think radio DJs, you go on air, you talk, that's it.
Right.
You're there for 4 hours, you don't do anything else. But aside from that, we do show prep all throughout the day. Like every time I'm scrolling social media, I'm thinking, yeah, I could talk about this on the show. Or how can I talk about this on the show? What should I do on the show? And as a radio DJ these days, social media is a huge part of it.
Right.
So there's a lot of social media engagement, hosting, and all that. Yeah. So it's a whole ecosystem of jobs apart from being a DJ. But we're very thankful for that because, we get our income from a lot of different places.
Right.
Yeah.
Has radio changed over the past few years?
Over the past 6 years?
Past 6 years, yeah.
I mean, there's been people in radio for like 30, 40
Sure.
years. But in the past 6 years, I think so, especially with the pandemic, like it changed the game so much. Yeah. And honestly, I a lot of people tell me, like, even when I just got into radio, even when I was in school, when I was in poly, people used to tell me, oh, radio will die.
Yeah.
But radio hasn't died.
Correct.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like news, like physical, publications have died faster. Or, are sort of have to adapt to a more digital landscape. Radio in itself is also doing that. There's like digital stations now, everything is on an app and all that. You can listen on an app. You don't even have to listen in your car. So listening patterns have changed so much over the 6 years, especially because of the pandemic.
Right. So what's the difference with someone tuning into, so let's say with Spotify or any music streaming platforms, right? Nowadays, you kind of choose your own music, you discover your own music by yourself. Like, what's the difference having a DJ on the show versus not having a DJ? Like you say, right? Your music is kind of curated.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say if you put on the Spotify, if you've got the best minds over there trying to, based on your patterns,
AI, right?
Give you the best data that you can and play you different music. So where do you think the DJ comes in and makes a difference?
I understand. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't listen to streaming platforms. I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't, but of course I do. But from what I understand from my listeners, let's say if they're studying at night, right? Having a voice there, like talking to them, makes them feel less alone. Like someone actually messaged me the other day saying, oh, that day I was studying for my O-levels and I was about to give up, but I heard your voice and you told me don't give up, so I didn't. I continued studying. And I was like, I don't realize the impact that it has on them, because when you're in the studio, it's very like 4 walls. You don't know who you're talking to. You can't see them. You just have to imagine and pretend that there are people out there. But when they text in, that's when you know what's going on in their lives. How are you helping them? How are you contributing to their day? And that's all that I want to do, because I think when you listen to music on streaming platforms, sure, you can have it curated, your own playlist and all that. When it's on the radio, maybe, I mean, on streaming platforms, you know what's coming up next. On the radio, you don't know, right? And maybe your favorite song comes up next, and that euphoria that you feel is nothing that you ever experience on a streaming platform. It's like, my favorite song is playing? Like, what? What are the odds, right? Yeah, you would never feel that on a streaming platform. But of course, when it comes to radio, my main goal is if I can make one person feel better about their night. Or put a smile on their face. Like, they don't have to be cackling or laughing or anything. But I consider it a job well done, because that's all that I'm there for. I think that's my purpose. It's to make people's lives better, right? And to encourage them. And,
How important is the feedback? So I imagine maybe in the past, right? You can be on air and you can have a dialogue. Or sometimes if you're hosting a show alone, most likely it's a monologue, right? You kind of have to keep going on, which I have no idea how you do it, but it's amazing. So how important is the feedback from your audience, where let's say they drop you a text or they tweet you or they even just give you some feedback? Has that changed the way DJing or hosting a show has become with the feedbacks?
Definitely, I think 100%, because at the end of the day, you need to realize that as a DJ, right, it's not about you, it's about them. So what do they want to hear on the show? What do they enjoy? Like, I have to be very in tune with what they want and try to, you know, curate stuff based on that. Because if you're only thinking about yourself, then no one will enjoy your show. Only you will enjoy your show. Yeah. So I talk to them a lot, like on WhatsApp, you know. I want to understand, like, what are their troubles when they go through the day, you know. And I talk to a lot of young people, and like, mental health is a really huge thing for them. I think a lot of them confide in me, and it's very difficult sometimes because I, as a DJ, I can't help them in a way that, you know, a therapist could or a counselor could. But sometimes they don't trust these people in their lives, because these people, they confide in them, and then I've had a situation where one of them confided in a counselor, and the counselor ratted them out to their parents. Which is just terrible, right? Yeah. So when they hear you on a radio, they sort of form this like relationship with you. Yeah. And when you talk to them personally, it further solidifies that relationship. And it's a dynamic that's very hard to understand. Because it's like, you're friends, but are you friends? But I want to see it as they are, you know, in fact, my friends, and I care for them. I care about their lives. I care about what happens to them. And it's not something that every DJ does. I think some DJs are more removed from that. So it really depends on the style of your show and how you are. And the night show traditionally is one where you get very up close and personal with the people listening.
Yes, the time of the day will matter also, right?
For sure. Like in the mornings, you don't get people calling in telling you about their lives and all that. Like, no, But in the nights, I mean, even when I was growing up, I would listen to like Yasmin on the night show, and she would always be talking to people about their problems, like, or who cheated on who, my husband cheated on me, or stuff like that. Wild,
Okay. So before we touch on mental health, let's when you prepare your show, right? You mentioned that there's definitely the bunch of people who are more vocal, and then you have the bunch of listeners who are always there, but they may not have said anything. How do you decide who to curate the content for? Because you have a very vocal bunch of people, but they may form the minority of the audience, even though they're very active.
They're just louder.
Correct, they're just louder. And then you have another big, like, I don't know the scale, but I can assume like that probably is the case, right? You have a small bunch of people who are more vocal in advance. So how do you decide, like, if you start creating the content towards a bunch of people who are more active, then what happens to the rest who don't say anything about it?
Definitely, I think there are a lot of listeners that are passive, and they just listen in, but they don't engage directly with you, and it's very normal. Like, you don't expect people to go around the day engaging with a radio DJ, right? But for the ones that do, I kind of have a glimpse into their lives, and you can kind of see, because people from all walks of life message in and stuff like that, right? So you can kind of form a rough idea. It's like you take them as a sample, you form a rough idea of what the population is. Sorry, it's very statistical. This is what I got my degree for.
That's quite funny.
But you kind of form a sense of, okay, who are the people that listen to you, right? So there are people that are young, there are people that are old, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of trial and error. Like, for example, if I do a topic or something like that, how many people respond to me? Then I know, okay, this is not very interesting for them. Or if I give away a certain prize, nobody really wants to win this. I can sense that from, I don't know, like, you can just sense it, not just from how many people calling in, but also from I don't know, the radio waves.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's sort of like a sensitivity thing, So a lot of trial and error. You will make mistakes. You will do things where people like really don't give a shit about.
Okay.
But then you kind of tweak it from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you have to choose one of your audience story that someone shared with you, what was one of the more impactful ones that was shared with you so far?
I've had like young people message me telling me that they have depression, and it's like more than one, and it's very sad to think about because these are really young people, like 12, 13, 14, and usually like I'll do my best to direct them to whatever hotlines that I can, but sometimes they just want someone to listen to them. Sometimes they just want someone to understand them and be there for them, and as much as possible I do that, but like I said, I'm not their parent. I'm not a figure of authority. I can't be that for them. And I make it very clear to them that I'm just here listening to you as a friend. And I think young people go through a lot these days that we don't even realize. They have a lot of pressures from family, from school, like some of them are getting bullied in school, and it's just heartbreaking because I can't help them past a certain point. But they always say like, oh Germaine, thank you so much for listening to me, like I feel better after talking to you, and wow, like sometimes I really want to cry because I wish I could help them more, but I can't. But as much as possible, I hope that they okay.
and nowadays I would think that, let's say bullying, right? Last time let's say if it's more in the physical world, it's quite obvious, right? Like when something happens,
the teacher would stop it.
Someone would see it. Someone can see it, right? And nowadays, the bullying may happen in a virtual space, which high chance you may not see it, you may not even feel it. You have massive amount of people going, and it's so disconnected, right? Like you can do something online and there's no no consequence,
but there's no consequence.
There's less human interaction. Like you're less likely to bash someone when you're together with them versus say
behind your
computer, right? It's so much easier to just do things that may not be yourself,
correct,
even just behind a keyboard. So yes, I thought that's one of those things that won't be easy.
For sure, like nowadays it's really about cyberbullying, and we do talks at schools as well. Like we tell them, if you're being cyberbullied, like voice it out. But it's very difficult. Like it's so difficult to police. Teachers also, like, they wouldn't know what goes on behind the scenes, right? But it really affects them in a very bad way. And cyberbullying, like, it affects everyone. Like, it affects me, my colleagues. Like, we all get cyberbullied from time to time, right? People, when they say something nasty to you online, they don't see you as a human almost.
Correct.
Right? They see you as an object, as a thing. And they don't realize that words hurt.
Correct. It's very disconnected, I feel.
For sure.
Like, you wouldn't even do it in real life, but you would do it in front of it. So, that's one of those. So, okay, so for the past 2 years, right? You mentioned, you sure? You want me to shift?
No, I'm okay.
You sure? Okay, good. So, the past 2 years, right? You mentioned COVID. It's been challenging for you. I saw even on your own podcast, Hush, you guys had a conversation about how to manage your mental health. So how has it been? How has the past 2 years been for you? How have you been managing it? And challenges maybe you face from just walk us through the journey, maybe.
Yeah, I think no one saw this coming. Like, no one knew what was ahead of us. Sometimes I look back at, pictures from just before the pandemic. Oh, we look so happy, like smiling. Right? Y'all don't even know what's coming for you. Like, you really didn't. And this is something that no one expected would happen in our lifetimes. But one thing that I'm really grateful for, and I think a lot of my colleagues are very grateful for as well, is that in the radio industry, we were able to go in every day and do our show. So we had that routine and we were able to keep up with that, right? I think we were deemed essential service very early on. So people would ask like, oh, how has it been working from home? I never worked from home. For the 2 years, I was always going in, and that kept up a routine that kept us safe. Like, we were so thankful to be able to go out of the house, right? And still continue that. But of course, everything changed. Like, our entire livelihoods changed. There were no events. There was nothing for us to host. There was no extra income. It was basically it. And we had to kind of just figure out, okay, what do we want to do with our lives for however long this is going to last. I think radio, in terms of radio listening patterns, completely changed. So usually the highest listenership comes in the mornings when they're driving to work, and evenings when they're driving back from work. But no one is going to work, and no one is driving. So people, like, I think listenership definitely dropped across the board. Like, it really dropped. And it was like weird. Like, listenership would rise like in the afternoons, weirdest timings, afternoons, nights, not during the drive time. So the whole game had changed, and we had to adapt to that. When it came to mental health, like, for me, I'm thankful when the pandemic hit, I was in a good place mentally. Yeah. If it had been me like maybe 2 years ago, I don't think I would have taken it well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen friends that did not take the the pandemic well as well. But yeah, I had a good support system, my partner, my family and all that. I just came to the realization that this is a time of rest you'll never get in your life ever again.
Sure.
Like, touch wood lah, no other pandemic lah. Okay, then wood here. Okay.
Wood, yeah.
But yeah, this is a time of rest that you'll never get back. So just make the most out of it.
Right.
Everyone is in this together.
Sure.
You're not alone.
Sure.
Yeah. So I just sat, at home, doing what I could.
Yeah.
Played a lot of Nintendo Switch. A lot.
Animal Crossing.
I know.
I don't know.
I know. Oh, that's right though. Oh my god, I tell you, I was obsessed with that stupid games. Yeah, okay. I was obsessed. But yeah.
They got a sponsor us for this, but it's a new update coming up, right?
There is.
It's an expansion pack or something. I got friends who are
Do you
in it.
play? Oh, you don't play though?
Oh, yeah, no, but I got friends who are
Okay, deep into it.
deep into it, right? Like create stories behind it.
Oh my
and
god.
But it's so funny to see.
But yeah, for years I had never played games. Then I
Sure.
really got into this game. Like throughout the pandemic, I would be playing it all day.
Right.
And I was never someone that would play games all day.
Right.
So yeah, it was very interesting
Did you
experience.
stream yourself playing?
No lah. I'm so shy, no lah. But I was really deep into the game. Yeah,
Right.
it was very
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Why would you say you never stream yourself? Like,
I don't know how to be a streamer.
I mean, just talk shit lah.
I guess, but
just-
Animal Crossing, what can you stream?
Now what do you enjoy? Just narrate out your thoughts.
Okay, I see.
Like maybe you run around hitting your villagers or something.
Right,
Just say,
right.
You're overweight. But I don't like your clothes today. I'm gonna give you something ugly to wear. You look like shit.
I never considered that. Maybe because
Right.
like I'm already on air all the time,
Sure.
and I'm in a public
your
space all the
private
time.
space,
Yeah,
yeah.
then I wanna. Yeah, but I have colleagues that stream as well, like on
Right.
Twitch and all that. So
Right.
it seems like it's a very lucrative like new world.
Right.
Yeah, but now I honestly don't have time to game. Like I wish I
Okay.
did. I wish I did. But
So
yeah.
you just mentioned like your public space and
Yeah.
your personal space, right? So how do you manage that? I can imagine being a public figure, right?
Yeah.
Like how has that changed you, and how do you manage it?
Has that changed me? I think it has changed me in the sense where I always used to be very protective of my personal life, like even in school and all
Right.
that. Yeah, but it made me even more protective.
Protective.
Yeah, and like it's not that I don't like to share about my personal life, but I feel vulnerable when
Yeah.
I share. I don't understand, but I don't understand it as well, but I feel unsafe
Sure.
to a certain extent.
Sure.
Yeah, but I would say that my public and personal sort of like persona or personality is essentially the same.
Right.
Yeah, like a bit of a crackhead lah, but
Okay.
essentially the same. It's just that I don't really share like too much of my own personal life and my family life and all that. Yeah, that's something that I've always kept to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, like family is family.
Sure.
Yeah. But I do share like openly, with people like my friends and all that. Maybe listeners who are going through a tough time, like I share with them my own personal experiences, like
Yeah.
just to let them know that I understand them. They're not alone, right? Yeah. So I think it's more selective sharing.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've had incidences where I share about my life and then people come and like step on me. So
Correct.
yeah, so it is like a bit of a trauma
Right.
where now I don't want to share.
Okay.
I don't-
Yeah, I get it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just nice to who you are in the
Yeah.
public space. Just give me that personal space as well.
Yeah.
Like everyone needs their personal space.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a persona? Do you feel like you have a persona who
Like on air?
On air.
Yeah. Wow, when I first went into radio,
Yeah.
I didn't know what my personality was.
Yeah.
I knew my own personality, but I didn't know how to translate that on air.
Right.
I remember calling like my first boss, like, what is my personality? I literally asked her, and she was like, honey, like this takes time. Like this
Right.
takes years to
Sure.
to build, and your personality will change as you
Right.
mature. And you're only like 20 years old. Like don't worry about it.
Right.
Because I worked with all these veterans and they
Right.
knew exactly who they were on
Right.
air, off air. I didn't at the time, but I trusted, I had faith in her words, and true enough, over the years I sort of cultivated, who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think it starts from why are you doing this job? If it's for fame, if it's for success, you know, people do that. That's fine, right? But for me, it's not like necessarily about the money. And I always say, like, it's a privilege that I don't have to work to support like my family or anything like that. Because if I did, you know, I wouldn't have these opportunities. But yeah, for me, it was about being there for people, right? Helping people as much as I can through my words on air, through, you know, the music we play and all that, just being there for them. And at the same time as well, like, it's my passion. I love radio, I love hosting, and it's always been what I wanted to do. So I think on air, my personality is someone that is really like a listening ear for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's someone that's a little bit like crazy at times.
Right.
Not like the conventional kind of like, you know, chill, like
conventional.
Yeah.
Aha, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask who, but okay.
No one in particular. Yeah, I'm just saying that I feel like I am a little bit more how do I describe this? I'm a listening ear for them. Yeah, as much as possible.
Do you think you're like that in real life also? Like when you're with your friends, are you also more the listening ear, the one who will sit down with you and what you feel? Okay.
Actually, it's been very consistent. Like even growing up, like in school and all that. Like I would always dish out advice to friends, or they would always come to me with their problems. Like even when I was in school, and I found that translated into my job these days. Like my listeners come to me with their problems. You know, I try to help them as much as possible. Yeah, so it's been like that. It's just that I never realized it. I couldn't see it until until like a few years later, when you actually can kind of piece things together.
Okay. So do you think, as a DJ, like, do you feel like you're an actor, or do you feel like you're more of yourself? Like, is it personality or is it an actor? Like, is there a difference? Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, you know, you have to. I'll give you an example. It's not that we're acting, but for example, you know, I've had a really bad day. Maybe I was just crying in tears before I stepped in, and that has happened before. Like, I've stepped in, and like I think there was one Sonia saw me in tears. Like I was trying to hide it from her. Like I was just like, hey. Then she's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "Yeah." But that's an example, right? Where you go in, you feel like absolute crap, but you have to put all of that outside. You have to leave it outside the door and sort of put on a happy persona. So in a sense, that is acting. But in general, like if I'm not having a bad day, I'm not acting. Like that's who I am, you know? Yeah, that's what I truly think about. Oh, this celebrity, this singer, like this piece of news. Yeah, but I would say on the bad days, you have to really give it your all. It's not easy, and everyone's been through it at some point, right? Everyone's had a bad day and gone in, but you don't bring it on air, and that's professionalism.
How do you manage it? Let's say on the days where you're down, and it's so not easy, right? When you step in, you still you can't let your audience, in a way, you can't let them down, right? You have to put on that show for them. How do you manage it? Like how do you like take a deep breath and
I had to learn this the hard way, like over the years. So when I was at my previous job, right, I was part-timing, right, and I was on air. So I think I had like 2 more talk sets to go before I got off air. Then I got a call from a friend, and she was like, I need to tell you something. Like, one of our friends had committed suicide. And she told me that, like,
while you're on air.
Yeah, I think I was like maybe 21, 22 at this point, and I didn't take it well at all. Like I was on the floor of the studio, like I was just wailing, and I was by myself because it was the weekend, there was no one around, right? But I still had to go on air. Right? And I had to just suck it up. I really had to suck it up. I had to it was one of the most difficult talk sets I had to do in my life. That one really was. But at the end of the day, you don't want to worry people, and what goes on in your personal life, to a certain extent, I feel like it should not affect them, right? You should not, it should not affect them. So after that whole experience, it further solidified the fact that you have to be very strong mentally. in order to be able to do this job.
Sure.
Yeah, because you could have news where I think just a couple of weeks ago, one of the DJs at our sister stations, he actually passed on. And the next day they were all on air. And you know, I had spoken to some of them like, how are you guys feeling? Like, how are you even going on air on a day like that? And they said like, we just have to do it. Like, it's our job. We have to be here for the station, for him, and all that. So yeah, it's something that we all have to go through.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? So it's we're looking at the process, right? It's very simple to say, okay, something has happened. I'm just gonna go back. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
But what is that? I'm just gonna go back and do it. How do you manage that? Like, maybe just walk through what you did from you being on the floor.
Sure.
And going back to your station, your workstation, and getting back on air. Like that process. What did you do?
I think a lot of it is like mind over body. You really have to force yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, you really have to force yourself. You have to center yourself and tell yourself like, okay, you can't be feeling these emotions right now. Compartmentalize.
Sure.
Put it away first. Go and do your job. And once you're off the clock, right, then you open the floodgates. So that's usually what I do. Like if I, on even a regular day, like if I, you know, let's say for example, fighting with my boyfriend before I went in for work,
Sure.
that kind of thing, right? Then we don't fight anymore, but
No such thing, man. No such thing. Rubbish. Rubbish. That's bullshit.
So let's say, right?
Alright.
So I'll go in, and really just put that aside.
Alright.
Then once you get into the groove of the show,
Sure.
it kind of distracts you.
Sure.
Because it's so fast paced, there's so many things going on. You're talking to people, they make you happy and all that. And then after that, okay, then I revisit those emotions that I had
Sure.
shelved away.
Sure.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of like deep breathing and a lot of forcing your mind to think about other things.
Sure.
Yeah.
And once you're done with it, how do you deal with it?
Once I'm done with it, the floodgates open and I can't control it.
Okay.
No, but usually after like, it depends what situation it is, right? If it's an argument or what, usually those 4 hours away helps me center myself as well.
Sure.
And after that, you're just not as angry as you
Sure.
were before. So it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
So the time off.
The time away.
The space, the time off.
Correct.
To let your mind calm down.
Yeah.
Recenter yourself and then go back to it.
Yeah, I think I'm a really emotional person, so I lead with my emotions.
Sure.
So when I'm in that moment, sometimes it's very hard to see anything else.
Sure.
So if I'm forcibly removed,
Yeah.
then my mind can sort of simmer down. Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Has there been a period where you have had maybe you felt down over a slightly extended period of time? So it's not on a day to day, but you felt down over a period of time. So maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like how were you dealing with that? Like we don't have to go into specifics of what happened. More of like.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay to share like I think like the toughest period was shortly after my friend had passed, the one that I just told you
Sure.
about, right? And I think it was like a maybe 6-month period when I was producing. I was in uni. A lot of things were happening in my personal life, and it just got a bit too much for me. And like I fell into depression. Like honestly, it was very tough. Like I didn't really know what it was because no one talks about it. I don't know lah, but no one talks about it in my circles. Like no one has openly had depression or whatever like that, right? And I didn't really understand what it was as well. And I only understood after, you know, going online and searching, why do I feel this way?
Sure.
Then I understood, this is what I'm feeling. Yeah.
So before you continue, what did you feel? Like how was it like for you? Is it okay?
No. It's okay.
Yeah?
It's okay.
So
yeah.
this is
I've come out the other side, and
Sure.
I'm really happy to, you know, to share, because I feel like at that point of time, I wish someone had shared with me. It was a situation where I woke up and did not want to be awake. Every single day I woke up thinking, what is life? No, really, it was very dark, and it was like I was in despair, and you know, usually when people are going through depression, like a lot of other friends tell them, yeah, but you have it going so well, like, you know, you have a job, you're in school and all that. But it's not really about that. I think it was a deeper issue.
Sure.
Yeah, so I woke up every day, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to work, but I still did it anyway. Which tells you that you don't actually want to, you know, you don't actually want to leave. It's just your brain telling you that you don't want to be like awake and stuff like that. Yeah, and I had major anxiety as well. Like out of nowhere, I would have anxiety attacks. Like even just the most random thing, like watching a movie with my partner, and I would suddenly be like, "Can you please pause?" And I would just break down. I don't know why. Yeah, I didn't really understand why, but now I understand it's because of a chemical imbalance, right?
Sure.
In your brain and all that. It's very scientific. It's just that people who have never been through it tend to not understand, because it's not a physical injury.
Correct.
You're not like bleeding.
Sure.
You're not like fractured your leg and
Sure.
stuff like that. Yeah. Those 6 months were really, really tough because I didn't have enough sleep doing school and doing the show and dealing with everything else. So I think I went a bit stir crazy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I'm someone that never want to compromises my work. Right? I have this thing about like work where personal life should not affect it.
Sure.
Yeah. So no matter what, I would still go in every day, do my job. Like I never missed a day. Maybe I overslept one day.
Sure.
But yeah, I never missed a day to show up for them.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think through a lot of support from my partner especially, even though like he has no mental health issues, like
Sure.
he is mentally very, very strong.
Sure.
But he tried to understand as much as possible. Like he
Right.
would Google, how can he help me?
Sure.
How can he be there for me? And
Sure.
all that. Yeah, and I think I'm really thankful for that. But I had to do a lot of the work like on my own. And it's like invisible work. It's in your mind. You know, it's not like physiotherapy.
Sure.
But it's like mental work, which is very weird for me because I had never worked that part of my brain like,
Sure.
in this way, right? But I'm all the more better for it. And it's not to say that, oh, you'll never fall back into that again. But you will be more equipped
Sure.
to come out of it,
Sure.
bring you out of that hole. Yeah.
So how are you working on the inner side of you? So your partner can only do so much, right? So when such things happen, there's only so much the people around you can deal with it. At the end of the day, you have to journey inwards. You got to find it, and you got to deal with it.
Correct.
So how did you deal with it? Like when you said you had to go inwards, how do you find it? Like what were you doing?
For many years, I was very dependent on people to help me, like especially whoever, you know, my partner, my friends and all that.
Sure.
But that didn't last, obviously, because people leave, right? Yeah, and then you're left with yourself, and you gotta, you know, face yourself. And I think I had to really confront like my deepest fears. I had to confront who I was in the past. Like I think growing up, I was not the best person, and like I'm very sad to see like the kind of person that I was before, because I didn't know any better, right? And like I had hurt people in the past as well, and I had to confront that. Maybe it's karma for me, like it probably is. And not only that, but I had to also really force my mind to shift perspective. Like I've tried everything, like I went to a therapist, went to a psychiatrist and all that, but they didn't really help me. I felt like that was not for me. So I got into something called mindfulness. I don't know if you heard of it. Yeah, mindfulness, right? And I was like, what is this mindfulness? Like meditating? What? But I did it for maybe about 3 to 4 months.
Sure.
So I had an app. I would just sit there in silence and meditate every day. And it was very hard to be alone with my thoughts.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it was very hard. But I learned a lot of techniques from this like whole mindfulness thing that I still practice till this day, even though I don't meditate, you know, in this day and age. But like, for example, one of the things that I learned was, if you know you're feeling very overwhelmed and you can't let go of what you have to, just imagine you're sitting on a rock and cars are passing by you, right? And you just, like you're on the side of a highway, put your baggage into one of those cars and watch it drive away in your mind. Like visualize it driving away off into the horizon till you can't see it anymore. Something simple like that really helped me, like at my deepest, darkest point. I never expected it to. Yeah, and it was really of like being in tune with my mind lah, I think. Yeah, so that, and coupled with, you know, changing my perspective on a lot of things. I think I was very reactive last time. I always wanted to like change things. You know, if things don't go a certain way, I wanted to change things.
Sure.
And I learned something very important, that you can't control what people do, because that's their life, that's their prerogative.
Sure.
You can only control how you react to the situation.
Correct.
Yeah, and do you really want to put all this pressure on yourself over something you can't change, you can't control? Yeah, and I think it's about letting go of that really helped me.
Sure. So you mentioned mindfulness, right? I think that's very important. So you mentioned about how you would maybe visualize your the topic or subject matter that you want to see go away. And I think it starts very simply. The key thing here is with mindfulness is to be aware, right?
Yes.
You have to first correct me if I'm wrong, right? So I'm trying to draw references from what you're telling me. So once you're aware and you can observe yourself, then can you deal with it? Because if you don't let yourself, if you don't recognize what's happening, you cannot deal with it. But the very fact that when you sit down and let your mind just go inside, not get distracted by other things, then you can be aware and observe the things that are affecting you.
Correct.
And then after that, you mentioned reacting to it, right?
Yeah.
So if you constantly are reacting to things, you cannot observe it. Right?
True.
Right?
True.
So if,
Wow.
let's say if you're driving,
You're like a mindfulness guru.
no, I'm just drawing reference from you, right?
Okay.
So let's
say
if
I'm
a
driving.
Car,
Okay.
if you're driving and then a car comes in and cuts you, right? You can react to it in many different ways.
Are you like a road rager?
No, but
You don't look like one.
I actually do let people in, but I get angry when
Aw.
people don't come in. So
What do you mean?
yeah, I know, right? So like I'm trying to be nice, like go in already, like
I'm like, 我都给你走了,
I'm
let's
like
go.
doing this already, you know, then I gotta put two hands and show you to go in or something. Like, oh, just go in. It's like, why is it so difficult to be nice, you know? It's like you don't realize in
It's
front,
Darcy's
right?
true colours.
Sometimes you got space, like I got chance to let you
I
in,
understand,
right?
I
I slow
understand,
down for
I
you and
understand.
please go in, like.
But okay, I think right,
Yeah.
with specific to that, right, it's
Sure.
because Singaporean drivers are very defensive all
Sure.
the time.
We are very defensive.
We're very defensive, so I
Singaporeans.
think like people are scared to go in also.
Correct.
They're like, what if you angry with me? Like,
Correct.
yeah, something like that, you know?
Correct. Yeah, so I think anyway.
So you're a nice driver,
but it triggers me when someone doesn't.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
I've never heard that before. This is the first time.
Yeah, that angers me more than being rude on the road. But anyway,
Sure.
yeah, so
Yeah.
if someone cuts your lane, you can either decide to be happy, to be sad, to be, and all these are reactions, right?
Yeah.
And
I used to be very angry.
correct.
Yeah, when I first started driving, you know, I was a hot-headed young lady.
Right.
I used to be very angry. But now, I just don't get angry anymore.
Correct.
I'm just like, okay lah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then so once, let's say mindfulness, right? Once you learn how to observe,
Yeah.
you tend to observe first, then you react. Does that make sense?
I think so. As in, I'm still quite reactive.
Sure.
I think, but way less than last time. Yeah.
Correct.
And now it's like, what I try to do is put myself in their shoes.
Sure.
Like maybe they're rushing somewhere. You know,
Correct.
they really need to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe they truly just did not see me. Or they're just, sometimes, you know, you're spaced out on the roads, right?
Yeah.
So you give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think
Sure.
that's so important. Yeah.
Correct.
Put yourself in their shoes. What are they feeling
Sure.
at the time?
And then when you're focused on the reaction,
Yeah.
right? The one thing that you took home
Yeah.
is not that someone actually went into my lane.
Yeah.
You took back that you were angry.
Correct. And why am I angry?
Correct.
Why am I, you know, putting this pressure,
Sure.
stress on my own heart
Sure.
over what someone else did? It's so stupid, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important when you, let's say you just now you mentioned mindfulness, even your own journey, right? You started to like observe things.
yeah.
And then once you observe, you realize that you're reacting.
Yeah.
If you didn't manage to observe, you wouldn't have realized that you were reacting to
Oh,
things.
this is very good. And this is like summary of
What you're saying right
yeah.
now. It's-
I'm learning things as well.
Correct. So it's super interesting.
Yeah.
So actually on my part, I actually went for the Vipassana meditation before.
Oh.
So it's
how is
it's
that?
a week's of boot camp where you
Okay.
literally meditate every day
The whole time.
for 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. So you have about 4 sittings a day
Okay.
where you have to sit down for 1 hour and really in one position, don't move, and all you do is just sit there and breathe.
How did you
So it's not
Like,
easy, right? For
yeah.
like Singaporeans, right?
No, we're just very fidgety.
Correct.
You know,
We're
our minds
constantly thinking of
everywhere.
something.
Yeah, correct.
I think people always say that if you have problems, find something else to distract you.
Yeah.
You can only do that for a while.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you have to
Face it.
right? So when you have to. So I think COVID gave people the opportunity to sit down
That's true.
and go inside.
But it's scary too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because every day you're constantly being distracted by the things around you. So
Yeah.
things may look okay, but when just because COVID happened and then you realize there's so many issues, it's not because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right? So definitely yes. I mean the problems that COVID brought along, yes, but maybe there were underlying issues inside. But it's
Like,
just because COVID.
Apparently, a lot of couples broke up during COVID as well. Like,
I think
yeah, I
that's
think
not easy.
having to deal with all those issues was not easy.
Yeah,
for them.
it's not easy. Yeah, so we kind of like the time and space to go inside is very important.
So, what do you take away from that bootcamp?
Observe.
Observe.
Correct.
Okay.
So the if I have to simplify the entire 7 days,
Yeah.
the one thing that you really need to do is to just observe.
Okay.
The first 3 days, I don't want to go too much into it because I think whoever that is interested in it should go for it yourself. Like, I shouldn't spoil it for you. But all you're doing is just learning how to feel the present. Correct. And once you can feel the present, then you can better identify your surroundings. Yeah. So I think mindfulness is a great start. For it. But I don't think any of us are like gurus on we're not psychologists, we're
No,
not trained.
we're really not. Yeah.
Correct. And everyone has their own way.
Please see a proper,
Yes.
someone who has learned this and can teach you. This is just from our own personal experience.
Correct. So everyone,
Yeah.
everyone deals with it their own way.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. So at least just be able to confront it. Not even confront it, just observe it. Like, if you're not feeling good, just sit down and chill. Yeah, and just let it go. So at least, that was with. So at least the COVID period. So I'm quite lucky like yourself. We were also essential, right? Like, we cannot go off, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it was so bad for us. We are so short on manpower.
Yeah. Even more, you guys were needed. Yeah.
Correct. So even for us, we're lucky, right? Same like you. Yeah. So so I think if anyone's just facing anything, I think it's good. Like even a simple app, anything that will get you to sit down and just breathe and do nothing. It's okay to let your thoughts run. But yeah, just watch it.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Like at the start, they would say like, oh, okay, in this 10-minute meditation, close your eyes, feel the air on your hands. Like, don't have a single thought in your mind. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that's not
but
easy.
Thoughts are thoughts.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Correct.
And I was like every 30 seconds there will be a thought coming in. I'm like, oh no, you know?
Yeah, correct.
It's a very weird feeling.
Correct,
but
correct.
it was more of like being able to control your mind, right? So that in like a moment where you feel very reactive, very emotional, you're able to calm yourself down.
Sure.
Because usually you don't have that power over your mind. So it's really mind over body. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So anyway, since we're here, tell us more about Hush.
Okay. So Hush is basically a podcast that was started by It's Clarity.
Sure.
So Clarity is sort of like a vertical that deals with a lot of female issues. Like the audience is mainly female, right? So with Hush, I think they wanted to bring us together on a podcast to talk about things that I think a lot of young people, young adults face that maybe is not so much discussed in their daily lives, right? So there's like everything. Like I think we've talked about probably the most like taboo one would be like sex education and the lack of it in the education system here in Singapore, and also a lot of men actually listen to Hush podcast, which I was very shocked by, and they were like, oh, I've learned so much about female health problems, about periods and stuff like that from the podcast. And we were like, what men listen to us? That's great. That's great.
That's interesting.
And it kind of makes people that listen in feel a bit less alone, because you think like, oh, I'm weird, like am I the only one that thinks this way, that goes through this? So you kind of show them that you're really not. So I think one of the most special things like to come out of this podcast is the fact that the three of us, the three hosts, we didn't know each other before. We were all in radio, all about the same age, but all different stations, English, Chinese, Malay, right? Didn't know each other. So they brought us together by chance. Don't know why. They had arranged it, but now like we are they're some of my closest friends lah, honestly, and because we're so like-minded, we're in the industry together, like we motivate each other to be better. And they're a great support system that I can always count on, and I think it translates into what people hear, you know, on the podcast, because no matter how close you are, like if you hate each other to the guts, you can't be that genuine.
Correct.
So I think people hear that genuinity and they really appreciate it as well.
What has been some of the, maybe one of the topics that that was brought up on Hush that you feel very strongly for?
That I feel very strongly
that maybe
for,
you almost, you can say like you initiated it, like you really wanted it to be brought up.
Oh, there was one that I really wanted to be brought up earlier this year. It was the policing of women's clothes, because there was a situation where...
Is that the one with Jasmine?
Yes,
that came
yes.
Right, okay.
Correct. You were just listening to Jasmine Soko, right?
Correct.
So that was the one where it's like women can never win. You wear too little, also kena scold.
Sure.
You wear too much, also people say you, right? And because personally, having been in the public space, like we have all had comments about like our bodies, the clothes we wear and all that, like non-stop barrage over the years from people that think that they can't comment that about you, right? So I felt like it was very important to speak out and like tell the young people these days, like, don't care what other people think, right? This is your identity. And I think Jasmine really brought the point home as well, because she's someone that is so unapologetic. And she dresses however she wants. She doesn't care what you think about it. So that was something that I think I felt very, very passionate about, because I know the young people these days are very vulnerable to what they see online. But I think it's much better. Like when I was growing up, it was all like magazines telling you, oh, this celebrity gained weight, you know? I saw a cover where it said like, oh, Kim Kardashian gained like 65 pounds. She was pregnant leh. She was literally pregnant. Like, how can you say that about her? So that was what we saw growing up, and we have a lot of body image issues. But the young people these days are way more, like, I would say the teens these days are way more open-minded, because they grew up in a generation where it was all about like loving yourself, accepting yourself, you know, no matter who you are, what you are. So yeah, I'm really glad that, you know, they have that. But I'm trying to help the millennials who grew up, you know, with all this toxic imagery and all that. So that was very personal to me.
Okay, and where do we draw the line? When is feedback okay and when is feedback not okay? What type of feedback is fine? Like, so for example, right? So this is, nowadays it can be quite touchy, right? So now that you mentioned body image, right? So when is it okay to tell somebody that, hey, you know, perhaps it's time to you have to lose some weight, not because of the image, but because of your health.
Understand.
But then it's very easy to throw it back to you that, hey, this is my body image, I'm proud of it. Like, so how do we deal with this right now? So we have, I would say that we have come from one spectrum, we flew to another spectrum where suddenly we can't discuss about it anymore. So when is it okay?
I think there are different things, right? Like when it comes to something that I think we all need to collectively stop doing, or, you know, be a bit more mindful of, is when we comment on other people's eating habits. You know, Asian parents, we love to be like, hey, finish your food, you know, why you eat so little, or why you eat so much, just have that conversation. But I think to someone with an eating disorder, personally I don't, but I know of people who do, but to someone with an ED, right, that's very triggering for them, because you're policing the way that they eat, and it's something that they take back into their day and they think about it all the time. Like, did I eat too little? Did I eat too much? You know, like, and stuff like that. For someone without an ED, you wouldn't understand, because you just eat and you just go more. And you say, I never eat enough, and then never eat. But for someone, you know, who constantly thinks about it, like, it really triggers them. So that's one thing that I think, you know, we could be a bit more mindful of, because you don't know what people are going through, and you're not entitled for them to tell you that, you know, they have this issue. But maybe just be a bit more mindful. And I think when it comes to body image and all that, if it's for health reasons, okay, first and foremost, if it's a stranger that you don't know, just don't go and tap in their lives.
Of course.
Right? But if it's like a close friend, maybe like a brother or a sister or something like that, and it's for health reasons, like, you can talk to them about it. I think that is where you should lah.
Sure.
Yeah. But don't make them feel bad about themselves.
Sure.
Like this could be genetics, this could be hereditary. You don't know, right? You don't know what goes on in their lives.
Correct.
Yeah. They could be going through a tough time, be on medication and gain weight. Like you never ever know what people go through. But when it's not okay, I'll give you some examples. Like I think being in a public space, like I've said already, people think that they can comment about, you, right?
Sure.
I've had people like DM me, oh Germaine, I think it's time to hit the gym, or I think it's time to get some exercise. Or I've had someone who is sort of an acquaintance as well.
Sure.
I was on my Instagram story asking for toilet bowl recommendations. Unrelated story. If you know any, let me know. I want the warm seat kind.
I'll get you the squatting
What?
kind. Don't touch the toilet bowl.
So I was asking for toilet bowl recommendations, and this guy who is an acquaintance actually messaged in saying, I can show you lah. Wait, hang on. I'll read exactly to you what this fella said to me, because I was a bit triggered by it.
Toilet bowl recommendation.
Yes, yeah. Oh. So he basically replied to, my story saying, did you put on weight? When I asked for toilet bowl recommendation. What do you mean that I put on weight? So I replied him and I said, hey, this might not be such a good question to ask people. I think, just focus on yourself and your own well-being. Then he replied me, lol, just kidding. Hope you and your family are safe and healthy. Like, then why you ask me if I gain weight? Which, like, if a close friend came to me and told me that, or like my boyfriend came to me and told me that, like, that's fine,
Sure.
because we are close.
Correct.
But I don't really know you that well anymore.
Sure.
Like, who are you to comment on someone else's body? Yeah.
So at the same time, right? So maybe I throw this question out back at you, right? Yes, who are you to comment? Then on your part, why should I care? Like we mentioned about the Muttons who really just, you call me fella, I happy fit.
No, they don't care, yeah, they don't care.
So it's quite an interesting topic to talk about, right? So it's two sides. I think to protect yourself, or to there's one side where of course we can be more aware of what we say, and also on the other part is sometimes people are just going to say, right? So we just got to. So for example, let's say for yourself, like, has anything similar happened? So apart from that, so like what you wear, was anything inappropriately commented on what you wear?
All the time, like on TikTok and all that. I think people hide behind a fake profile picture and a fake profile, and they just comment like a lot of nasty things. But I have learned to deal with it in a different way. Like maybe when I first started out, I used to be very affected by it. I would think about it constantly. But now it's just like, okay, I'll just block this person. And it never happened in my life. And I know of friends, like this is something that is such a new problem. I don't think people understand how serious it can be for mental health. Like I've had a friend who sort of like blew up or went viral over some things lah, right? So they were receiving like a lot of supportive comments and all that, but then they received one bad comment. And they actually confided in me saying, why is it that I feel so beat up over this one comment when I have so much support otherwise, right? And I told them, and I said that it's very normal to fixate on the bad things, right? Even if it's just one bad thing from someone that doesn't even matter. But it's like a phenomenon that only, us these days would even go through. Yeah. In the past, there was no such thing, what? Like, you don't like someone, you call them up and scold them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's your friend probably, So, I think that really showed me that, wow, this is a real problem, and it's something that if you want to be in the public light, or even if, like, let's say you went viral, you didn't expect to go viral, and then now the whole world is shitting on you. The whole cancel culture thing. Right? Yeah, so that's also another thing. Yeah, that could really negatively affect.
I think the mental defense to this is very important, because you can't control what people say. Like we've all agreed on, like you can, like people can do nasty stuff, right? Like we definitely want a better, we want a better society. So shit always happens. So the best way is to like protect ourselves.
And worry about yourself. Focus on yourself.
It's quite interesting. Like it's something where, let's say as a guy, you don't really have to deal with. I'm quite sure maybe because I don't care how I look.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe to someone who cares more, then if someone's going to say that, hey, no, today you look sloppy, that's going to affect them more than something else. But yeah. So I think these are nice. I think it's great to bring them up so that people are actually aware that, hey, it's actually okay to just wear what I want to wear.
Yeah, and be mindful of what you say to other people, because words carry weight.
Yeah.
And like I always, like, you know, we do talks with the students and all that in the schools, and I always tell them, everyone that you've ever met in your life, right? They know you in a different capacity. They've had different experiences with you. So there's no one that has the same version of you in their minds. Like everyone has a different version.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, why are you living for their version? Like, live for your own. That's the real, authentic, true self. Right?
Sure.
Be real with yourself, and that's all you need. Yeah. That's what I feel.
That's great. That's great. So okay. So anyway, if someone was to be interested, all right, if they were interested to ever join maybe your industry,
Radio? Ah, okay.
Radio?
Yeah, media,
or even, let's say for example, because now you host your own, you host Hush, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is a good starting point for them?
Oh, definitely. I think like if it's radio specifically or something in the line of hosting,
Sure.
work on, you know, your self-confidence. I think that's number one. Yeah, because that was something that I think thankfully, you know, ever since I was young, like I would always be posing and shit, like all that nonsense, lah. So I never lacked confidence, right?
Okay.
But when I grew up, I realized that it's not something that comes for everyone.
Right.
Like my one of my colleagues actually told me, like, Germaine, like, how do you do it? Like, at your age, how are you?
Right.
Where do you find this confidence? And I never realized that, you know, it could be an issue for someone who maybe doesn't feel that good about themselves, until like I went into the throes of it. Then I realized, okay, this is what life could be, right?
Correct.
So I think work on your own self-confidence, believe in yourself.
How do you work on your own self-confidence?
How do I work on my own self-confidence? Well,
it's
there's one thing that I do that's a little bit crazy. Like I used to make fun of my colleague for doing it, right?
Right.
Yeah, my ex-partner at the time. Then he used to tell me like, oh, I talk to myself all the time. And I was like, what do you mean you talk to yourself? Like, that's crazy talk.
Okay.
Then I started doing it, and I realized that actually it's not too bad. Talk to yourself like in the mirror.
Right.
Like, give yourself positive affirmations.
Sure.
You know, like I am gonna have a good day. You know, I am going to ace this exam.
Sure.
I'm gonna ace this interview. I'll get this job. Stuff like that. When you say it, then you really believe it. You know.
Correct.
Yeah. So, like when I'm driving in my car every day, right? When I'm driving to work, right? I'm repeating affirmations to myself.
Sure.
That kind of thing.
The law of attraction.
Yeah, a little bit crazy, but it doesn't matter. It actually works. Like for me, it works, right? So that's one way. Like, you know, build your self-confidence.
Sorry, I'm just trying to picture you driving.
Okay,
like, I'm great. Today I'm great.
I'm great.
Yes.
I'm gonna have a great day. No, but that's literally it. I'm gonna have a great day. Things are gonna go good today.
It's good. It's like, I always thought that maybe someone is talking on the phone, but now I realize that maybe if I see Germaine, she's talking to herself.
I'm talking to myself. If you ever drive past me.
Okay, that's quite funny. Okay,
No,
sorry.
so that's one way, right? That I kind of got over the whole awkwardness of it, and now like I embrace it. I think another way to embrace your self-confidence is to find things that you love about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be the simplest things, like, oh, I love my eyes, or, you know, I love my hair, or I love the way that I treat people, or, you know, anything. And then kind of just expand on that, because everyone has something to love. Even the worst person in this world has something to love.
Sure.
Yeah. Then work on, of course, your speech and all that, right? I'm very thankful because since young, like, I love talking. Damn noisy as a child. Yeah, so I always talk. And that's where like I kind of built it from, like, right? So work on your speech, work on your confidence when you present yourself.
Do you have to go for speech classes?
I went for
vocal a
phonics class.
Phonics classes.
Yeah, when I was like 3 years old. Yeah. I don't know why.
3 years old.
Yeah, I was going there,
Phonics
saying
class.
like cat, mat, bat.
That would have been very useful.
Bat, hat.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where I learned it from, right? And people made fun of me for my English because like I would pronounce things
everything too
properly, right? Yeah. Then they think like I'm damn presumptuous. It's damn funny, lah. But yeah. So that was, you know, sort of like, it really helped me as well. Yeah. And I think watching a lot of shows, understanding like linguistics and the way that people speak. I think I've always been very curious about that, like intonation and all that, the way that they speak, different accents. Yeah. So yeah, work on your self-confidence, your delivery, you know, the way that you present yourself. That's for, you know, anything in radio or hosting. And I think, like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Sure.
I was very scared to even join the competition in the first place because it was like a public audition. And I was like, I'm gonna make a fool of myself, right?
It's not easy.
Don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Yeah, sometimes people relate to that a bit more because you don't take yourself too seriously.
Correct.
Yeah. Put yourself out there, whatever competition there are, just join, shoot your shot. If let's say you are interested in podcasts, start your own podcast, right? Yeah, if you have the funds and you have the means to get like just some equipment, there's quite cheap equipment these days, right? Darcy can send you a link.
Yeah, I just use one GoPro and that's it.
That's it. Yeah, start your own podcast. I mean, before you know it, like, people are gonna take notice, especially if you're genuine. But I think at the very base of it, right, understand why do you want to do this. I think one thing to enter the industry for fame is not wrong.
Sure.
It's not wrong, even though a lot of people say like, oh, they're not here for the right reasons. It's not wrong per se. Yeah, it's not wrong per se. But I think build another layer on top of that. Sure, you can want to be there for the fame and the success, but can you also be there for something else, for a bigger reason, right? Yeah. So yeah, think about what it is that you want to achieve, and just never give up. Never give up.
Never give up and never be afraid to fail.
For sure. That's still something that I'm grappling with because I'm very scared of failure.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm very terrified of failure. I don't
For example?
Like anything. Like if I make a mistake, you know, I beat myself up over it. I think about it constantly. I'm afraid to take risks because I'm afraid to fail.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't believe in myself. It's more of anything could happen and I just don't want to fail. Yeah.
Is there like an example, like something that...
An example? Okay, so like I won't share too much about this, but I'm trying to start like my own thing.
Sure.
Right? It's an app, it's in the edutainment sort of sphere.
Sure.
So right now we're in the throes of app development and things are getting real. Yeah. Honestly, like, I'm anxious just telling you about this because I don't know if it's gonna succeed.
Sure.
And I look at the amount of work that needs to be done. I'm willing to do the work.
Sure.
But even if I do the work, will it succeed?
Sure.
I don't know. So this is like one of the biggest risks I'm taking in my life.
Okay.
And I'm terrified I'm gonna fail. So we'll come back in 1 year, see if I fail.
It's okay. Even if you fail, you learn something new.
I know, but I don't want to fail, Darcy.
So people always say, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is the guru coming out already.
No, that's not guru. It's more of a cause you owe. Yeah. So I think the biggest two things that hinders a lot of people from doing what they love or what they want to try. Okay. The first one is just starting. Starting is not easy.
Yes.
So I always feel like find the baby steps, right? Start really simple. Find the little successes, whatever mini success you can find. Maybe even just your first equipment. Like say yes, like, oh yeah, I got my first equipment. Try it out, play out. Like I'm listening to myself here. Now find the mini baby steps. And then the next one is, what if I fail? So like you said, right, you should never plan to fail, right? You should always make sure that you have done, you will do everything you can to succeed. And then if somehow whatever the best was not good enough, correct, so be it. Yeah. So I think,
how do I get to that point of so be it?
I mean, if you've given your best...
Have you failed?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, really?
Has failed. Like we've definitely developed products where clients didn't, like, found no use for it and we're like, shit, it's one of those things. But you have to deal with it, right? You just ask yourself, where did we go wrong? Okay? Think of failure as lessons learned, right? So if you think of it as lessons learned, then it's very different. It's a different perspective again, right? So you start to like be aware of it. Like you ask yourself, okay, where did we go wrong? How can I do it better next time? And I think if your best was not good enough, then you could not have done any better. And just do it. It's like when you go, let's say you I don't know, you compete in sports or even like radio DJing, right? If someone is better than you, someone is better than you, there'll always be someone better, and just recognize
that's what I believe too. Like,
correct.
You can't keep chasing to be the best because no matter what, this world has 7 billion people.
Correct.
Someone is always better than you.
Correct. Just be the best you, right?
But I think that really makes sense, that don't see failure as something that, you know, is useless. Take value from that failure. Okay.
Yeah. I think that the
Yeah.
biggest lessons are when you actually
Fail.
When you fail doing your best.
That's so. Oh, that's
It's
so
different though. Like,
demoralizing.
yeah,
though,
correct.
right?
So
Yeah.
but that's the biggest ones, right? Those are
Yeah.
the best failures that you can ever get.
Correct. Because
Yeah.
success, you don't really like
You
gain
don't
much.
like
yeah.
it's the same thing, right? You get good comments. It's very easy to get
Yeah.
good comments.
Yeah.
It's very difficult when the bad ones come in.
Correct.
And how you deal with the bad
Yeah,
ones.
it's true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Correct. Oh, okay. All the best in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, really, just go out and do it. There's nothing you can.
I'll go meditate.
Correct. Just do it, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah. So that's for work, right?
Yeah.
So what about yourself? Like maybe in the next 1 year, 2 year. Okay. Since you've already said that, how do you? How would the Germaine be different at 30 versus where you are now? So, 29 and a half. Before 30. I know I had that feeling. Like, I used to wake up nightmare. Like, I'm
No
30. I used to.
No. Shit.
Correct.
Is that what's in store for me?
After 30, right, you no longer get a nightmare. But like after 30, you're like, fuck it.
I'm just imagining you like waking up. Like,
Treated really legit. I was like, oh, fuck, is it my birthday tomorrow? Like, oh no, it's not. Okay, thank God it's not.
gosh, I cannot imagine. I will get there soon. I will get there soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm just continuing to work on myself. Like no one is perfect.
Sure.
And even though like I've changed so much in the last 4 years, I'm still not perfect, you know. I still let people down sometimes.
Sure.
I still make mistakes sometimes. So I just want to be a better person. And who knows, like in 2-3 years, will I be married? Will I have a kid? Oh my god, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what is in my future. And
Sure.
that's the uncertain thing, but also exciting thing about life.
Alright.
I mean, going from a point where I used to wake up every day not wanting to live life, but now I wake up excited about life. Like I'm excited to, you know, get on with my day. And even if I'm not excited, you know, I just wake up knowing that this is life and I'm okay with it. Yeah. And I think that's really a huge change for me. And I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be where I am. Yeah. And just take things one day at a time. Like don't plan too far in advance.
Yeah.
I used to plan my life out when I was 20. I thought I'd be married by 25, have a kid by 26. I'm 26 now. I have no ring on my finger.
I don't know
Yeah,
whether that was a hint, okay.
Never point middle finger. It's fine.
Awkward.
No lah. It's a joke. It's a running joke between me and my partner. Really, it's a
Yeah.
running joke. Because honestly, like I don't know if I'm ready right now.
Sure.
Like to have a child. I don't think so. Yeah.
No one will ever be ready, right?
I guess so, I
Yeah.
guess so. But yeah, I think I still have a couple more years left
Sure.
in me. So take things one day at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself with the idea of what life should be.
Sure.
Yeah. Life is what you make it to be.
Okay, Ken. I think with that, I'll let you end the show.
Huh?
I'll let you end today's podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and you subscribe for more content. And we'll come back in 1 year to find out if I fail. Do your best. And Darcy
Okay.
the guru will.
Well, Darcy can't be a guru. Guru, everyone will fail.
Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah. But
How you want to end this?
But,
End now? Okay. 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3.
We just end it that way. Like,
Okay. I don't know how you usually end it.
No, I don't care.
Oh, you don't care?
Yeah, I really don't.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast with Germaine Tan. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you'd like to support the channel, please do like and subscribe. With this, enjoy the week ahead. See you guys in the next one.